So let's go to our user detail view, and here I want to create a function right after my body and call this private func, and let's call this get user. And here I'm going to say download user with ID, and ID is self.order customer ID. And then just hit enter and call this f user. And once we receive a user, we want to set a variable of our user. So I say var user is type of f user, and this is an optional. So here I can say that self.user is equals to f user I just received from my Firebase, or it's a nil. That's why we put this an optional. So what we want to do actually is, once this is done, it's complaining is says cannot assign a property self is immutable. And the reason it's complaining is we cannot set this variable because we are inside a struct and we cannot change anything part of struct. And this is where our at state comes in, which tells our compiler that this will be changed, and once it's changed, we want the user interface to be refreshed. And as you can see, my error goes away. And here my text, I'm going to change this to user optional dot full name, or we set it to empty string. Let me just copy this and paste it 4 times. And the last one is full address. This is phone number, and this is the email. So we check if there is a user full name, we will put it here. Otherwise, we just put an empty line so we don't crash our application. So if I run, you will think that it will go ahead and download our user. So let's see if it works. Go here, go to my file, and you can see we have empty things here because our user object is nil. The reason it is nil is we are not calling our get user function in anywhere. So you would say, okay, let's come here to our body and say get user. But unfortunately in SwiftUI, this is not going to work. You cannot do any function calls inside our view. Instead, we should find something else. It would be good to have something like view did load or view did appear in SwiftUI, where we could call this get user function. But unfortunately, there is no view did load, but there is something similar to view did appear, which we can use on our under our list where we have this navigation thing. So I can say on appear, and then we can write a put curly braces here, and then we can do a function call in here. So my function call is going to be get user. So every time this view appears, this will be called get user. And once we go ahead and I need a self here. And once we go ahead and download our user, it will be passed to our function here, and we set our at state user. And once we set it, this will be refreshed and everything will display correctly. So let's run my application again. Go to my order, name, and you can see it populates all the information about my user. So I can go ahead and check the information. And the last thing we need to do for our project is make our order completed. First, let's go to my Firebase and change this to false so that we can complete it and make it to true. Now it becomes active. So in our next lecture, we are going to write a function that will update our order and set it completed to true.